Hi, Steve Arterburn here, and thank you for joining me for Going Deeper. Love getting to be with you. We're in this series on marriage, and I want to talk to you about a life-changing concept for so many people. Years ago, before the book Boundaries was ever created, I knew John and Henry, they knew me. Dave Stoop and I were writing together, John and Henry were writing together, and we have a big joke that while they were writing Boundaries, Dave and I were writing The Angry Man. And of course, The Angry Man sold 7 copies, and Boundaries is just off the charts, millions sold. Now, that's not the whole story, because Dave and I were working on the Life Recovery Bible and all the materials there. And you know, that Bible has just sold millions. So Dave and I, John and Henry, we've all benefited from these books that have sold millions. And of course, with Fred Stoker, Every Man's Battle, that series is sold, last I checked, was over 4 million. But I want to talk to you about boundaries, and especially when it comes to marriage. Now, boundaries in marriage that are great start with good boundaries when you're single. When I was dating my wife, I had a boundary. Now, what is a boundary? Well, you could say it's a limit. And I had a limit. You know, I had written Every Man's Battle, so the least I could do was not be sexually intimate with my future wife. And so that was something that I stuck with as a single guy about to get married. Now, that has proved so beneficial in so many ways, because my wife, you know, she could see that I wasn't in this to take. I wasn't in this for my own gain or pleasure or whatever, and that's impacted our marriage forever. It produced some trust. But if you're beyond that, there is always a chance that to say to a person, I'm so sorry we didn't have these boundaries while we were dating. But I want you to know, here are my boundaries when it comes to other people and us. And you know, you have to set a boundary with a temptation of sex outside of marriage. You also have to set some boundaries with the family that you come from, because the Bible says we need to leave and cleave, and so many people have difficulties because they never leave and then they never cleave. But listen to this quote from John and Henry from their book Boundaries. It says, when one person is in control of another, love cannot grow deeply and fully as there is no freedom. So you have to have freedom to grow, and controlling another person and limiting them, that's not a healthy boundary. But when I set a boundary for me, and it's probably going to influence your behavior. I'm not trying to control you, but it's a limit for me between me and someone else. That's what a boundary is. And I'm not doing it to change you, even though most likely it will influence you. And we have these boundaries, professional boundaries. A therapist shouldn't be a friend. I have a guy that I've known for years, and I just heard so many great things about him. I would meet him here and there. I'd call him for different things. And I called him up one day and I said, hey, I'd really like for you to see me on a regular basis. And he said, all right, I will, but you need to know that we're not going to be friends. You know, we're outside of the counseling relationship. It'll change everything. I just thought that was so great that he was willing to identify what these healthy limits need to be. Sometimes a sick therapist wants to make the most engaging and wonderful client their friend outside, and that's not good. And of course, we know other things that aren't good either. By the way, I've never had a therapist wanting to be my friend outside, so must be something there. But anyway, a boundary says, this is what I value. And one of the things that I need to value is me. Now, let's just say you're dating and you want to set some boundaries, certainly for behavior. Sex outside of marriage, never good. But here's another kind of boundary that I think is pretty great. And especially when you consider boundaries being limits. And that would be this. Let's say you're dating someone. Think of the impact it has when you say to that person, you know, I really am enjoying this relationship so much, but I want to be sure each of us experiences a night a week apart from each other. Even better, I think, when you're dating, I want to be sure that each of us has his own or her own time, 2 nights a week, where we're not on the phone or with each other or whatever. We're being with other people or doing other things as individuals. Now, when you say that, a person who's controlling is going to say, oh no, that'd be horrible. I don't want to do that. I can't handle it. But a healthy person would admire you for that. They would say, wow, that's incredible. What a great idea. And they would want to be part of that. So you see, that's a limit of time. It's a boundary, nothing negative. I'm not trying to change you, but I am trying to do something for me. Now that brings us to some things that Dave and I wrote about in Take Your Life Back. Those 4 D's are very, very important. The first thing is, you're not going to set a boundary unless you are this in the relationship. You need to be your own decider. If somebody's deciding for you, if you're turning that over to somebody, that's very unhealthy. So if I'm deciding, like in dating, I need 2 nights a week to myself, or I want 2 nights a week just to establish some healthy boundary and limit of time together. That's a great thing. I decide that. Now you might influence that, you might want to influence that, but it doesn't matter what you want to do. I need to do that for me. So I'm the decider. I'm not going to attach myself to some sick, controlling person who wants to decide everything for me. Never, ever a good thing. I'm the decider. Second thing, I will never set a boundary unless I believe in my value. So the second thing is that I'm not only the decider, but I'm the developer of good things for me. I'm the defender of my value. Developer is number 3. I defend my value. And so if I don't think I have any value, I'm not going to protect it, defend it, set some limits because I'm valuable. I'm just going to let you run all over me. I'm going to be a people pleaser. I'm going to try to keep the peace at all costs, all this kind of stuff, because I don't value myself over you. I don't see myself as equal. I'm desperate. So I need to be the decider in my life and the defender of my value. And if I don't have self-worth, I'm not going to set a boundary because I don't think I'm worth it. I'm just grateful to be attached to anything. And I'd rather be attached to something sick than nothing at all. So then the other thing is the developer of good things in my life. If I'm setting boundaries by deciding, defending, then I'm not waiting. If I'm the developer, I'm not waiting for somebody to do something great for me. I'm doing good stuff for me. I'm taking the course. I'm reading the books. I'm setting the boundaries to develop good things for me. Those 2 nights off a week while I'm dating, might want to be sure that when I get married, I also, not to go out with the guys or the girls or something like that 2 nights a week, but we might have a habit of where, you know, you like to watch television, I like to read. Okay, 2 nights a week. Let's be sure each of us is doing the thing that we like to do the best. Okay, now, when you set a boundary, if somebody doesn't adhere to that, or they don't think you're entitled to that, or they don't uphold it for you, where you say, here's the limit. For instance, here's the limit. You are an alcoholic, Bobby, my husband, and I'm setting a limit. You must not drink. Not only that, I'm setting a boundary. You must not drink, but you're going to have to, for me, be sure that you're in recovery. So that's going to require about a meeting a week or 2 meetings a week. This is my boundary because you got the drunk driving thing. We know you're an alcoholic. Abstinence. If you want to be with me, abstinence and a couple of meetings a week. You may need to go to treatment, whatever it is. But see, I need to set that boundary, which is a limit on your behavior that I'm going to be around. But here's the key. Here's what I'm talking about. I need to be sure that I have a consequence. You know what the consequence is, and I'm not going to say the consequence unless I mean it and I'm going to follow through with it. I remember my father saying to me, Steve, if you will not have sex, won't drink, won't smoke, I'm going to get you a gold watch for graduation from high school. I had sex, I drank, and I smoked, and I got a gold watch anyway. That's not good. I wish he hadn't given me that watch. That would have been a great lesson to me. And what you don't want to do is to say, look, if you drink again, and then you don't go into treatment or whatever, or you're not willing to go to these meetings, then I'm not going to be with you because we've been through this and you're abusive when you drink. Well, you're going to move out if you drink again. And then the person drinks again, and if you don't get their stuff out on the driveway, people say, I can't throw them out on the street. No, just driveway, front yard, that'll be adequate. So I've got to follow through on any consequence that I set up, or I shouldn't even bring it up at all if I don't mean it. All right, so what are the benefits of great boundaries in marriage? Well, I'm going to have some good mental health. And if I don't have any boundaries, then I can say, why don't I have boundaries? Well, it's because I don't value myself. I don't think I'm worth it. Or I married somebody that's totally controlling, and we're going to have to get some help here because this control thing, it's not good. And it's not going to get me or either of us where we want to go. Second thing is, it's really good emotional and mental health for me and spiritual health, all in one. Because I'm a creature of God, I've been designed by God, I've been formed in the mom's womb by God. So if I'm setting a limit because I see myself as valuable, then that has a spiritual impact on me. If I don't think that I have worth, then I'm really not believing that I'm a special creation of God. I might have thought I had worth until I was abused, and that changed my opinion. So I need to get some help for that if that's the case. When I set a boundary, I'm developing my personhood or my identity. We've talked on New Life Live often about when a person's unfaithful and doesn't demand anything of the person that betrayed them, a lot of times you cease to exist in the mind of the betrayer. You just don't exist anymore. You're like a wet cat. We need to have presence, personhood, and identity, not be a wet cat. I'm developing autonomy when I do this. I think it's important that I have this autonomy. And because when two become one in marriage, it means one physically, sexually. It doesn't mean we fuse personalities together and we're now one thing all the time. No, we still have identity. And also, one of the great values of boundaries is it does influence, doesn't control, but the opportunity is for someone else's behavior to be influenced because I value myself enough to set a healthy boundary. Now, I'm so grateful that I have been able to work with John and Henry, the authors of the book Boundaries. There's a new book that they have, Boundaries Have No Limits. And Growth Has No Limits. And it's all about how we grow and boundaries. And I think it can really be a foundational book of biblical truth upon which that foundation you can set some healthy boundaries with other people. So that's my word on boundaries. We need good, solid, healthy boundaries, the way people talk to us, the way we interact, and we don't ever want to trample on somebody else's boundaries. And we don't want to be trampled on either. All right, if you need some help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Take Your Life Back is a great little take in one chapter on the developing, defending, deciding, and so that God's your director, not some other person. You can get that at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Also, go to newlife.com, and please tell a friend about this. We broadcast the program 1 o'clock Eastern every day, and then also please join me on Thursday, 11 a.m. on NRB for Life Recovery Today with Steve Arterman. I'll see you next time. Take care.